to the start. They're lined up. And they're away for this Kazoo Blue Ribbon trial. Fairly level break with United Nations up on the outside. Sheer Rocks coming through in the maroon and light blue jacket from Nahanni in the all blue. These are 1 and 2 now. Then to Messias Fox in the noseband in third, followed by Zane Surinder. Mighty Ulysses looks to be running very freely indeed under Frankie Dettori on the outside, almost pulling his way up to the front pair, and Frankie's trying to get him in and get some cover. Zane Surinder just behind those. Then on the inside, Grand Alliance, United Nations and Inverness are the last pair. Turning left-handed as they reach the highest point on the course, and Nahanni leads the way here from Sheer Rocks in second. Messias Fox is third on the inside. Mighty Ulysses looks a little bit more relaxed now, followed by Grand Alliance and Zane Surinder and Inverness, and United Nations ridden quietly by Ryan Moore at the back of the field in the dark blue jacket. Making the descent now, the long descent towards Tattenham Corner, and they've got just over 5 furlongs left to cover, and it's Nahanni that leads the way under William Buick for the all-conquering Godolphin team this season. Sheer Rocks on the outside, Messias Fox is third, then on the outside Mighty Ulysses. Grand Alliance is next, fifth on the inside of Zane Surinder, followed by the White Blaze Inverness, and finally United Nations. So about to swing left-handed into the home straight here, and just over 3.5 furlongs to gallop, and it's Nahanni by a half length to Sheer Rocks. Messias Fox is just in behind them. Then up the inside, Grand Alliance. Mighty Ulysses going okay on the outside, blue and yellow colours, followed by Inverness pushed along. Zane Surinder and United Nations will challenge if good enough down the wide outside. Nahanni is now being hunted down by Mighty Ulysses and by Grand Alliance on the far side, and then behind these Zane Surinder, Nahanni and Mighty Ulysses. Grand Alliance, Zane Surinder is just about joining in now as they run inside the final furlong. Nahanni is flat out from Grand Alliance. Here's Zane Surinder finishing off really well, but Nahanni nothing if not game and wins. Nahanni wins the Kazoo Blue Ribbon trial. Grand Alliance on the far side, Zane Surinder. United Nations making good late progress from Mighty Ulysses.
Nahanni has won for William Buick and Charlie Appleby, beaten into second. Grand Alliance up the inside for James Doyle and Charlie Fellows. A promising run in third for Zane Surinder, for Jack Mitchell and Tom Clover. Fourth was United Nations, and fifth, and fading quite markedly inside the final furlong, Mighty Ulysses on just his second start. A gap back then to Inverness. Here are the closing stages. There's Nahanni up front as he had been throughout. He just wanders a little bit. He's challenged on both sides. It looks like Mighty Ulysses might have his measure, but he fades, and it's actually the big horse on the outer, Zane Surinder, who shapes with promise, and there's a determined challenge against the far inside rail from Grand Alliance as well.
Yeah, we thought this would happen, in that Buick won't go out in front and dictate the pace, and he didn't have to go too hard to establish the lead, even though he missed the break. So he was ridden just to get the lead. Slowly away was Grand Alliance and had to be chivied along. Held up towards the back was Inverness, and Grand Alliance soon got back in touch. And Dettori making a move around the outside on Mighty Ulysses. He knew he didn't want to be too far off the pace if Buick got into stop-start rhythm, as he's tracked by Sheer Rocks.
Yes, so having recovered from that slow start, Nahanni gets to the fore against the rail, and his outside is Sheer Rocks, who's running a bit greenly, a bit keenly. He's a bit on his nerves as he was in the paddock beforehand as well. And
in the big horse with the noseband, the chestnut, Messias Fox, didn't get home today, probably slightly outclassed in this company, even though there was not much between the first few home.
I want to keep an eye on United Nations as well, who's ended up rallying for fourth place, coming through from last, alongside on the inside Grand Alliance. They finished much closer, so you can't build it up that much. And he was just wanting to hang in behind initially, but then did stay on.
Yes, it does seem that he doesn't handle idiosyncratic tracks at the moment, United Nations, but he did plug on late on to grab fourth place. And coming down the hill, Zane Surinder's quite a way back as well, so second, third and fourth are at the back of the field, and anyone who has a go up the straight fades. In particular, Dettori on Mighty Ulysses looked very dangerous, but it turned out he wasn't holding on to very much.
I don't think Messias Fox has handled Tattenham Corner at all. I mean, he's a big horse with quite a sort of straight back, kind of look, and I don't know.
No,
It doesn't look like his place.
Probably not his track. He looks like an out-and-out galloper as well. He just couldn't go any quicker once Buick's just injecting a little bit of pace at the head of the straight. Now here, Mighty Ulysses looks extremely dangerous.
Yes.
The Tory starts to get after him, but the response is pretty limited, and he doesn't get past Nahanni. In fact, nothing gets past Nahanni. Grand Alliance sticking on against the rails. He's been the shortest way, probably an advantage. And Zain Surinder just drifting this way and that. We'll probably see better on the head on how straight he was. I think he hasn't handled it brilliantly, but he's run well. And United Nations getting going too late to make an impact.
Keep an eye on, in the red and white colours on the outside, the eventual third. That's Jack Mitchell riding Zain Surinder, and he is trying manfully to stop this horse leaning left down the camber.
Yeah, whereas
the
winner in the second have got the rail helping them early in the straight, and again in Grand Alliance in the lilac colours gets the rail to himself as the winner actually drifts off up the camber away from the rail for a bit.
It's really marked, actually. He's really having to pull on his right-hand lane and keep him straight, just to stop him from leaning down.
And he's just beginning to edge that way as the line comes. He's certainly. It's an interesting race to watch because there are so many horses early on the learning curve, aren't they? Although Zain Surinder is having only his fourth run, he's been quirky before. He's unshipped his rider and been withdrawn at the stalls once, and so he's clearly not been straightforward. Whereas the winner, who didn't look brilliant last year, is really gutsy this year. He's come back in good form, and Grand Alliance showed his quirks at the start and took a long time to get going as well.
It's a really good run from Grand Alliance, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be that having a left-hand inside rail helps him, but he's really laid down a challenge and determinedly kept to it all the way to the line.
Yes, absolutely. You wouldn't want to see him tested on a right-handed course just yet, I wouldn't have thought.
The winner is Doughty, relatively straightforward. Fluffed the start, but was able to get back into a nice position and has been able to drop down in trip and run well. I'm really taken with Zain Surinder, I must say. I think on a more conventional track he looks like he's learning fast all the time, and I can see why Tom Clover thinks he might be the best horse that's been through his hands yet.
Yeah, so it's hard to get very worked up about the form. As Nahanni's just dropped in, he's rated 93, the runner-up's rated 88.
Yeah.
And the third is also rated 88, so the handicapper will say, well, they're about right, really, aren't they?
And what do you make of Mighty Ulysses? Is it greenness? Is it the track?
I thought he didn't stay myself.
Yes, but you look at the pedigree and you think, can that really be the case?
Yeah, you think he's bound to get the trip. He looked, for some reason, I felt watching him at Yarmouth, he had so much brilliance at the end of a mile. I thought there had to be a doubt about him getting the trip, and I kept looking at the pedigree and said, no, he'll stay. What does John Gosden knows he must stay? But he didn't, did he, really? I would be sure it's stamina, and I would think, come back to a mile, he might be interesting.
And you were helped with, remind me about what you thought about his fitness?
I thought he looked very well.
Yeah, that's right, he did look well, didn't he? Yeah.
But clearly, Connections feel he's got quirks, because they had the red hood on. They took him earlier than anything else to the start, but he took that all well, and the first two-thirds of the race, he looked like the winner.
What a tremendous opening to the season Godolphin, William Buick and Charlie Appleby are having.
Remarkable, and of course Buick's faces this. I don't know whether it would be a difficult choice for him at all between Caribus and Native Trail in the Guineas. There are people assuming he's going to pick Native Trail, but it's still a choice he has to make.
The trainer thinks it's very, very hard for him to get off Native Trail. He's expecting him to keep to the dual Group 1 winner. As opposed.
Maybe that's helpful for Buick to sharpen his mind in that if he'd ridden Caribus in a trial and Caribus had won impressively, then he'd have an even more difficult task.
Okay, so that is the outcome of our Kazoo Blue Ribbon trial. Again, it's gone to the boys in blue with Nahanni for Charlie Appleby and William Buick.
Yeah, got his own way out in front a little bit and has defied the drop in trip and won again. Nahanni 9-4 favourite, beats Grand Alliance 11s, and Zain Surinder 7-1 was third. The win time 2:10.48. Strikes me as being quite a slow time. Yeah, it's 4.88 outside standard. Let's have another look at what happened out there with Dave. I think both of us feel that Mighty Ulysses was too keen early on and didn't get home, Dave.
Yeah, I said straight away maybe drop that one back to a mile. I mean, the fact that he was keen early on his first appearance this season might think that they might have a look at the Dante, hopefully with the freshness out of him. But my first impression was that he didn't stay. But what I was going to take out of this race is that we've got a horse who missed the start in a slow time and has dropped back in trip and won. I think that William Buick always felt, even though it gets a bit anxious, that he'd got it. He's judged the race to perfection, and he just looks as though another 2 furlongs are going to suit him so much better. So I'm inclined to mark up the performance of the winner rather than those in behind, albeit they've all run to various degrees of credit. I think the winner was doing something that it's not probably going to be asked to do again, i.e. I think everything will be over 1.5 miles from now
Plus,
on.
I'd say.
Yeah, possibly even, yeah. And the rest of them are pretty much on top of each other. Their ratings differentials was not much, and they finished close to each other. So, yeah, I don't think this winner's going to win the Derby by any means, but it'll give this trainer a good